Go ahead and hit it, man.
CQ on the air tonight. Well, Roundtable's lit and the signal's tight. Per static fades, I twist the knob. The shack comes alive, this is my job. LEDs glow, antennas high. Another night beneath the sky. I'm calling out, hear that tone. Across the globe, I'm not alone. The net's alive and I'm checking in. Let the conversation begin. We're at the amateur radio roundtable. We're all plugged in, solid and stable. W5KUB's calling loud and proud. Spinning stories through the static cloud. From KW5GP to WI7BG. We're rocking the bands wild and free. Hey, Glenn's got my...
All right, guys. Hey, you're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable. Today is July the 8th, I think. Boy, I can't keep up. The time is flying here. Hey, you're watching and listening to Amateur Radio Roundtable. It's a show about ham radio, shortwave, electronics, and other miscellaneous things from time to time. We have a pretty good time on here. Sometimes we get off subject, but we still have fun on here. We want to invite you to join us on our Facebook group. We got a Facebook group of almost 15,000 people that follow the show here. It's a great place just to ask questions, post pictures, be active on there. Just go to Facebook and go to the search bar on Facebook and just type in W5KUB and it'll get you there. W5KUB, it'll get you. If you're listening out there on shortwave, international shortwave station, world famous, let me say, shortwave station, WBCQ up in Monticello, Maine, we'd love to hear from you. You're listening. It's a Thursday for you. Our show is broadcast on Thursday on shortwave. And you're listening out there. And we'd like to invite you to just join our show on Tuesday nights if you can. You can tune in to just go to W5KUB.com and you'll find the show in the chat room there. We're also on X. We're also on Facebook groups. And we're also streaming on YouTube. And we may add Twitch back or something a little later. I don't know. Hey, hit the subscribe button if you will. Please hit the subscribe button. We've got a lot of people that tune in and watch, but probably only about 30% of those people have actually subscribed, and it really will help us out a lot if you can do that. You can also listen to us on any of the podcasts like iHeartRadio, iNet Radio, Google Play. All those carry our show. You can find it anytime. You can listen to it online, or you can download the show and listen to it there. Love to hear from you. Shortwave listeners, podcast listeners, send us an email to Tom at W5KUB.com, Tom at W5KUB.com. Now, Glenn is not with us. Well, Glenn is going to be in late tonight. He's playing hooky. I don't know what he's doing. I don't remember the reason. But he's out for a little while. He says he'll be a little late. So hopefully Glenn will be on here in a little while. And I've got a little special announcement to make. I think it's kind of cool. Hope it works out for us. But I'll do that a little later in the show there. And let's get down to over to Brett, who's kind of west of here a little ways, out in, where are you? You're in Wyoming, right? Yeah, Wyoming. So go ahead. Hey, Brett, what was that?
Laramie, Wyoming.
Wyoming, yeah, Laramie, Wyoming. In fact, let me do this. Watch this, guys. Watch under, let's see. Watch this. Just watch under Brett, or watch under him. Look at, look at there. Laramie, Wyoming, there he is. Hey, how you doing, Brett? What's going on, man, in your world?
Well, it's been hot and sunny, and then there have been thunderstorms, and then it's been hot and sunny again. It seems to be alternating between those two kinds of weather. I've been doing a lot of work outdoors. I've been climbing a lot of rooftops, installing internet, and also working on my amateur radio antennas. And I have some slides of that which I can show either now or later on.
Yeah, we'll do it in a little while.
And getting ready for the summer ham fests, including Huntsville, and I may go to the I may go to the Hem 14er event as well, which we want to talk about a little later.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, all right. Well, let me just jump into this. I got a little announcement to make here, and I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but I have been talking with Lord Callum. Does anybody know who Lord Callum is?
Lord Callum.
Lord Callum McCormick, M0MCX. He's the DX Commander guy. You know, the guy that does the antennas, DX Commander. Anyway, I've invited him to come on here regularly and be a co-host with us and just join us every week. And he likes the idea. I think he's all for it. But he says he goes to bed at 2300 and our show doesn't start until 0100. So that becomes an issue for him. That's the only issue, he said. And he says he's very busy right now in the summer. And he said, let's try in September to hook this thing back up again, and maybe we can make it work. So, guys, we may have Lord Callum, DX Commander, joining our show here. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe he could tell me why I can't make my multi-band vertical work. Anyway, that's the announcement that I had that I wanted to share with you guys. And he may have even tuned in tonight, you know. And if he did, I'll say hello, Callum. Hey, man, we'd love to have you on here. Just, I know there's a time difference. I don't know if there's any way to convince England to bump their time back 6 hours. I don't know, but maybe we can work something out, you know. Okay. Well, let's see. Man, it has been hot here. My antenna project that I've been working on and talking about on a show, it's just almost impossible to work on it. You go outside and it's like, I think at 95 to 98 degrees, and humidity is just so high, you become dripping wet when you're out there more than about 5 or 10 minutes. So it makes it real hard to make adjustments and try different things out there. So I'm still working on it. Man, I am really excited about this antenna. Yeah, Mark says I need to work on it at 5 a.m. I don't get up at 5 a.m. I'm retired. You know, I may average getting up about 9 a.m., guys. But, you know, hey, I do kind of stay up a little late, you know, every night there. And yeah, I know what you're talking about, 5 a.m., you know. And I may have to do that. But it's gonna cool off, I think. But it's been so hot, I just hadn't been to work on it. And as you guys know, I've talked about different antennas. I've got a number of antennas up outside that I use and I like. My full wave Delta Loop on 40, it's an outstanding antenna, believe me. And I've got an extended double ZEP, 40 meter extended double ZEP up about 90 feet. That sucker's 172 feet long. And I've got my 1.5 kilowatt tuner on that, fed out there with open line. That's a nice antenna too. But I always like to play with antennas. It's a lot of fun to experiment with antennas. They're easy to build, maybe sometimes not so easy to make work properly. Now, I'm trying to put together a multi-band. I'd like to put together an all-band antenna out there that's resonant on all bands where I don't have to use a tuner on them. Because my amplifier I have here, if the SWR is above 2 to 1, my amplifier will shut down. So that's not good. So I've got to have the SWR down low. And my goal is on each band, 40, 20, 17, 15, maybe 12, and then 10, is to have the SWR set at, you know, down at the 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, somewhere in that area where it's fixed. Now, I've been playing with the antenna out there, and I'm having trouble getting it to come up to the resonant frequency I want. It's off. For instance, 40 meters instead of 7,200, let's say, the antenna is resonating like at 6,600 kilohertz. Now, no matter what I do, that antenna is wanting to stay around 65, 6,600 kilohertz. And I've noticed that when I've played with other antennas previous months, previous years. I don't know if there's some strong signal here in the area. I don't think there would be, but it seems like something's affecting it. So my goal is to get a multiband fixed antenna out there, low SWR, where it doesn't have to be tuned, and it'll just give me another antenna. And I'm shooting right now for vertical. Vertical will give me a little bit different, distances, takeoff angles, and so forth. It might even be a little better for DX. Man, I've tried everything. I've tried the like the DX Commander with the 5 different elements in there, 1 for each band. I'm having a terrible job trying to get those on resonant frequency. And as I've mentioned on the show previous times, Stanford did a study about the multiband like fan antenna. And if you think about this DX Commander, it basically is 1/2 of a dipole standing up, with the multi elements in it. And spacing makes a big difference. Stanford says they need to be about 18 inches apart in places. I don't know how Callum gets his to work with them so close. So I've been playing with the multiband like a fan vertical. I've been shooting around the idea of a trapped vertical. I've been playing around with a infed antenna. Instead of a quarter wave for a vertical, it would be a half wave. I kind of like that idea. I have a buried radio system, and the wires are insulated. And if you read about it, you don't want to put bare wires in the ground. The ground gives you ground loss, and if your antenna is sitting on the ground, there's quite a bit of ground loss here. That's why they want you to put some radios down, either on top of the grass or maybe not more than an inch or so below the ground to get that reflection. Well, when I moved here and I put my antenna farm back there and I ran my coax underground and all that in conduit, I also buried a lot of radios out there. And I have various linked radios. Some of them are 135 feet long. Some of them are 10 feet long, but I have a number of radios out there that are buried just right below the surface of the ground, and they're insulated. I've read a lot about lately, while I'm working on this antenna, read a lot about grounds too. And you can use, ideally 8 radios is better than 4. 16 is better. 32 is even better. Now, I'm not going to put that many up out there. When you hit 64, if you look at the chart, you don't gain hardly anything if you want to go above 64. And you just gain a little bit if you go from 32 to 64. I've done a lot of work with AI regarding this. And AI seems to be pretty smart on the antennas. You can ask it a lot of questions about what I'm doing. And man, it'll come back with the formulas. It'll come back. It'll calculate it for you. It'll explain it for you. So it's real helpful. But it says a number of 10-foot radios is just as good as having a bunch of longer radios. If you can put a bunch of 10-foot radios, it'll give you a fairly decent ground system. So here's what I was doing. I I've got some pictures I'll show you in a few minutes. I pulled up in the tree my fan. I'll call it the fan vertical. And well, actually, I left it at about ground level for these tests. I've tried it everywhere from high to low and so forth, but near ground level, when I'm feeding it, I hooked it to my ground system. And it just didn't work very well at all. I just having terrible trouble trying to get it to resonate on all the different bands. And that's my buried radios I have out there. So I said, hey, I'm reading and studying about the 10-foot radios. So I disconnect that ground and I hook 4 10-foot radios on it. And that helped tremendously. So there's a big difference. It appears that the ground system is actually making significant changes in the tuning of this antenna. I don't like if I go with a quarter wave, like a standard quarter wave ground plane vertical, it will operate much more efficient up high above ground instead of laying on the ground. There's a lot of ground loss at the ground, but I can easily pull my rope and I could pull that 40-meter antenna all the way up to a tree limb, and it's say 30 feet off the ground, and then I can have radios out there, pull with small rope, tie them off underneath there. So I've tried. There's also a lot of AI talks about, and other articles talk about quarter wave radios. Not the 10-foot, but the quarter wave, or the random link or so forth. Anyway, so on my multi-band vertical that I pulled up out there, I'm running I've tried 3 quarter wave 40-meter radios, 33 feet each, Doesn't seem to work very good. Now the advantage of pulling that antenna way up in the tree is it brings the angle of radiation down. It reduces your ground loss, and it also brings the radiation down, the angle down, where it makes it a much better DX antenna. It shoots at the horizon at a lower angle. And so I think that's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for possibly, and man, with the way things are going out there in the heat, I'm not making much progress, but I would like to. I'm going to continue testing and playing with the multi-band 5 or 7 element vertical and try to trim it and play with different grounds on there. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to go to plan, A, B, C, D, maybe plan E. And I want to go with, my rope right now is over a limb about 66 feet high. That's around a quarter wave on, no, that's around a half wave on 40 meters. So the half wave is probably not going to work out very well for me. So I'll probably go quarter wave. Well, that's what testing I'm gonna keep trying, and then probably I'm going to change my mind, and I'm going to go to a random link wire, random length. I'm going to probably go to something like a 46 foot or a 49 foot. Yeah, probably a 49 foot random single wire. And I'm going to go back to our matching that I talked about on the show here one night, and that is right here. I'll show it to you. So if you remember this, I'm thinking the more simple would be my say a 49-foot vertical, and then a coil at the bottom, selectable. And what I would do, I would tune each of these individually just to ruffle me in. For instance, I'd put the coil at the bottom of the 49-foot vertical wire, and I would find the tap on there that gives me the best match. And actually, this is an LC circuit here, and an LC circuit is right here. And you can't really beat an LC circuit for tuning. And as mentioned before, the LC circuit, if you turn it around backwards, it'll tune low to high impedance, or if you turn it the other way, it'll do low to high impedance. So it'll match any impedance antenna. But that's what this is. This is an L. So I would find the tap on the coil that works best, put the capacitor on there between the two, adjusting the two. And what I would do, I would find a setting where that antenna is resonant at, say, 40 meters. And then what I would do, I'd disconnect the tap, and I'd disconnect the capacitor, and I would take a reading. For instance, the capacitor may read 1.1 microhenry, and the capacitor may read 29 picofarad. And if that's the reading I got, that tells me that's what I should use to tune that antenna at resonant. So then what I'll do, I'll make up my coil where I can tap it at 1.1 microhenries, and I'll either put a variable in there, or I'll probably use coax. In other words, if I measure 29 picofarad here, I need 29 picofarad of capacitance. Then what I can do in my box is use the coax for a capacitor, as I mentioned earlier. And for instance, RG58 has 29 picofarad per foot. I could cut me a foot off and put it across there, and I would have 29 picofarad, and hopefully things would be tuned. And if I went to 40 meters, it'd be resonant. So that's the plan right now. Instead of RG58, which is much lower power, I'd probably use RG8 for my my coax capacitor, because it would handle the higher current. So I've got some pictures here I'll show you. Man, I have spent a lot of time on this, some in my shop, and of course my shop is air conditioned, so it makes it easy to work in here, but I can't tune them in here. So I'm gonna show you. And hey Brett, if you see something here you want to yell, just yell. So guys, if you guys remember, I started off playing with the traps. I was going to put traps in here, but I think now I'm not going to do the traps. I'm going to try to stick with the single wire. So let me get off the trap here. So I told you guys that at one of the Hamfest. Stop. At one of the Hamfest, I picked up a couple of these boxes, and I think this was some type matching device. I'm going to guess for maybe a lower power AM radio station. You know, it's pretty similar to what I'm wanting to do with relays. If you notice that wire going in there, that actually went to a stepper, which actually turned a rotary switch. Very old style. I'll just control it by relays. But you can see that box has an SO239 on it. And if you look there at the glass insulated standoff, the antenna hook's there. I'm sure this was an RF device, and it must have been HF. You'll see the inside here in just a minute. So if you look there, and it looks a little dirty, I'll have to clean it up a little bit. Hey, how do you like that screw right there with a point on it? Now, that's not in position. It was turned around the other way, where that screw with a point was over another screw that was in the box there. and that makes a spark gap. That
Yeah,
makes
is that a lightning arrestor?
that's a lightning arrestor. Yeah, that's a lightning arrestor for the antenna. How you like it?
Yeah.
Put that point on there. Another good thing. Another thing, if you just want to get wild, another good thing for a lightning arrestor is a spark plug. Can you see that? Hey, you build your little tuner out there, and you screw your spark plug in, and hook the top to your antenna, and you got a 30 thousandths gap there, and if lightning hits, it's going to spark the ground. What do you think about that? We need to sell ham radio spark plugs.
Yeah. That's good, but I'd still put an MOV or something behind it.
Yeah, maybe. I've never really used the MOVs, but yeah. Well, I don't think the spark, that gap the gap might be too small. I don't know what Mark was talking about, the 30 thousandth on the spark plug, or what we're seeing there, but yeah, the gap can be adjusted. In fact, that screw there can be adjusted for your gap. Again, I'm not sure the power rating of this. I mean, I just don't know. I tried to contact this company. It has a name on it. I tried contacting the company, and obviously they have gone out of business. They're not returning any email. I was going to ask what this was for, and was it, for a radio AM station and so forth, and no answer. So here's what the inside looks like, and it's got a rubber seal. The thing latches, and the cover fits really tight. And you can see the coil with the taps. You can see, if you look through the hole in the center, you can see the rotary switch. And again, the rotary switch was not stepped with a motor. I think it was stepped with like a solenoid, more ratchet type, a solenoid where it's a stepper. And you hit the voltage once, and it steps one position. You hit it again, it steps another position. So what it's doing is it's actually selecting the taps on that coil. Yeah, and what I will do is, my control boxes I built for my antenna selectors and so forth they can control seven relays. So I'm going to put relays in there and select the tap with relay. And with a double pole double throw relay, on one side I can select the tap, and on the other side I can select the capacitance I need to tune for resonance. So that's what it looks like inside. And that board you see to the left, a little greenish board, there's actually banana plugs there that plug in, and one says output and one says input. So to me, it looks like you might be able to change the configuration of the matching circuit. And if you remember how I talked about this, the L match, if you go in this way and you come out on this end with the capacitor, it's high impedance here. If you come in with the capacitor on the side, if you come in here, it's low impedance on this side. So they may be actually selecting the input or output. They may be switching the L circuit in the on that board there. So let me go back here, and we'll see what. Did I miss a shot? Okay, so you can see the board there with the patch panel actually. It says input and output there. It's got four positions, and if you notice those look like four knobs at the bottom, those are actually tuning capacitors down here. So this thing looked like it could be tunable for maybe 4 different frequencies, maybe to fine tune it. Up at the top right, you see where the control cable came in. There's like 10 or 11 screw terminals up there, which will be very handy because I'm going to bring 8 wires in. A Cat 5 type cable is going to come in, so it's got 8 wires, and they'll go to those screws right there. So if you look under the bottom, you can see in the center of the switch, you can see the little stepper, I'll call it a motor on the end. It's not a motor, but probably a solenoid relay. and it turns the wafer switch there, and it selects one of the 4 capacitors there.
Hmm.
I don't know what the rating is of those capacitors. They got a fair amount of spacing in it. I don't know if they would handle. I doubt they'll handle a kilowatt. I don't know, but I'm not worried about that. I need to find my values at first and get it, prototyped out working. So underneath the 10 or so screw terminals, you can see the terminals on the bottom. These will actually go to my relays. This is very handy here. They're all bypassed for RF, and each one of these leads will go over to a different relay. So I'll select 40 meters, 20 meters, 15, 17, and so forth right there. There's the rotary switch. Not going to use it.
Ah, they even gave you an Allen wrench to adjust the capacity.
Yeah. Did you notice that? The Allen wrench, it's a little corroded, but there's an Allen wrench there that will take that coupling off on the shaft right there. Now I got 2 of these boxes. They're almost identical. So I don't know. I just tore into one here to see what it looks like. All right, but I like this. The strips there is already bypassed, and I've got wires on the other side. Hey, that really helps a lot. There's that patch board, and it's really solid. You get your input and your output there. So that's really interesting. I'm not going to incorporate that in because since I'm going to just wire in separate matching for each band, I'll either make them high impedance in or low impedance in, whatever. So what I did outside, if you look at the green thing there, that's a rotary coil. A rotary coil, and I'm using one section of that 3-section variable capacitor there as an LC circuit, as my antenna circuit. And my plan is, and you can see, look at the match I've got right there. I rotated the inductor, I rotated the capacitor. I've got a 1-to-1 match right there on, what's that frequency, 7215 I think, or something like that. So my plan is just to measure the inductance and the capacitance, take that off, and then I will permanently install, either tap off that inductor that's in there, or wind a single inductor for that band of whatever that measures, and also whatever the capacitance measures. I will probably trim coax down to fine tune it. And as I mentioned, the coax is like 29 picofarad per foot. Well, if you need 27.2 picofarad, it's real easy. You just trim a little off with some cutters. Just trim the end off a little bit, and that'll bring it right down. So I needed some way to pull all my wires together at the bottom, and I'll use this for if I use a single wire or multiple wires, but I wanted to build something there that I could mechanically stabilize all my wires and stuff. I didn't want them pulling loose and getting twisted and changing length and so forth. So I built me up a little thing here with some PVC pipe. The SO239 on the left, and the three screws at the bottom there are for radios, and the screw at the top is for the antenna to connect to. Very simple inside. The 3 radios hooked to the shield of the coax connector. There's the center that goes up to the antenna. That was soldered on the SO239. They're just kind of put together. It's hard to see. That if you guys do any plumbing work, you might recognize the nylon bolt. I've got a nylon bolt in the top there, if you see that. And what my plan there was, I've got a solder lug that the antenna goes through, and that nylon bolt just holds it. That's kind of a stress relief. And then you see it comes around and it hooks to the antenna terminal there on the side. Can anyone guess what the nylon bolt is from? Anybody in the chat room guessing? What was that?
I'm going to guess a toilet.
Yeah. That's a toilet seat bolt. Yep, that's what it is. Toilet seat bolt. Okay. Anyway, that's just what was that?
They're 1/4-inch nylon bolts.
Yeah. That's just kind of for stress release. I just didn't want it just pulling on that screw and wiggling around and everything like that. I see Glenn has joined.
I'd come in here and you're talking about toilets.
Yeah, I see Glenn. I was going to say I see Glenn has joined us here. Glenn, we're talking a lot about the various antennas that I've been playing with and testing here.
Yeah.
But you can see a little closer there. Again, the toilet bolt just basically just becomes a stress relief right there for that. And guys, I showed you a few weeks ago the spacer that I was going to use for the 5 wires that went up. You can see the spacers right there. And that's made out of PVC pipe, of course. And each band is cut. The longest one goes right through the center. That's the one we pull up in the tree. And then each shorter element goes in one of the outer ends there of the pipe. And I was using those little U-clamps to clamp above and below the wire, but I found out that was a lot of trouble, and I decided, you know what, I can just take a piece of copper wire and do a copper wrap like that, and it'll hold them in place fine. It doesn't slide, it doesn't move. So that's what we did at each of the points there. So there it is, kind of one end in the vise in the shop, and I'm trying to stretch it out and kind of get everything kind of tight and all the antennas kind of pull tight. And there they are right there, all connected. All the other wires you can see right there in the vise. That's called a split bolt. That's a split bolt connector. I had the 40-meter wire that went to the terminal there. And the easiest and the best way to hook the other 4 wires on there was just use a split bolt and fasten all those wires together that went to that antenna bolt. So that's it from one angle. There it is. Now, if you notice all the other stuff in the shop, all that stuff is necessary when you build antennas. So just don't think you can build an antenna in a clean shop. You got to have all this stuff laying around because you never know what you might need. For instance,
including the spray paint.
Yeah, and you may need that monitor that the stand broke off of. See, it's in the floor right there. I'm gonna give that to Glenn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that to Glenn. It is an HDMI monitor.
Hey, it'll work.
Yeah, it works. I'm just not sure how I'm going to mount it right now. I don't need it right now.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So there's another shot of it kind of looking down at there, And then at the top, of course, each wire doesn't all come to the top. Again, right there in the bottom left, you can see the 40-meter cable is coming down toward the bottom left corner right there. But all the other antenna elements are much shorter. 20 meters is half a length and so forth. So to stabilize all those cross pieces, we used just some paracord that brings them all back to the center conductor of that 40 meters there. And that stabilizes them, keep them from going up and down, or sideways. And like for instance, the 10 meter antenna, it's only 8 foot long, and this total antenna is 33 feet long. So you can see another shot of it right there. Now at the top, I knew we were going to have to do some trimming. So you can see the, as I mentioned, the paracord that all came together and tied to the center wire at the top. I just taped the last couple feet of each of those elements. I just kind of taped them to the string right there to trim them, because I cut them long. I may have to trim 4, 5, 6 inches off of that. And then once we got it tuned, of course we could fasten it more permanently there. But it probably wouldn't hurt if 3 inches of it kind of tilted over. It probably wouldn't hurt there. This is a Cherry. This is a vertical. This is a vertical antenna. And guys, if you missed this, if you want to see it, you can always watch the rerun, or you can even back. You can back your player up and go back in time. But yeah, this is a multi-band, 5-band antenna that I was going to pull up in my tree. I've tried it at about 60 feet in the air with radios. I've tried it down. I'm having trouble tuning this thing. My biggest trouble is the heat out there. That's my biggest problem. I think we may have already seen that shot. There it is near the ground. Again, you can see the split boat connector. My intention of the stainless steel clamp around it, I made me a dirty ballon, and of course if I run high power, I'm using like RG8 or RG213, which is pretty heavy, and I've got a pretty big ugly ballon wound up, and it's heavy, and I didn't want all that weight trying to pull the connector out of the coax connector there. So I was going to put something under that stainless steel clamp and come down and make a hook or something, or a rope, and just a tie off to the ugly ballon. So you can see the ugly ballon right there. You can see the bottom. You can see it down near the ground right there. Again, each leg is a different band. All right. There it is on a tree. You really can't see it. If you look right in the center, follow that RG8 up, you might be able to see the dirty ballon up there in the trees. I don't know if I got a better picture or not. That's not very good. And I can't see it there. The nice thing about the wire antennas, look at it, guys. When you put those suckers up in trees, nobody sees them. My neighbors don't even know I got antennas up. You know, they're just pretty much invisible. Now you can see my ropes and stuff, but I'm in the backyard there. There's the bottom of it, and again, this is pulled up. This is almost 60 feet in the air, which should give it a great takeoff angle and get it away from the grounds. I've got plenty of trees out there to tie off the radio system that comes from that bottom. Yeah, they're non-resonant trees. I don't know if Mark saw it. Mark may have saw it. We did a show one time a couple years ago, where we used a tree as an antenna. Glenn, were you around then?
I think so, yeah.
We used a tree as an antenna. We put a spike in a tree, and we connected to that, and we tuned the tree up. Now, the military, I had a whole article from the military where they did, down in Panama and the jungles, they did tests on using trees for an antenna. So, yeah, those are non-resonant trees right there. But there it is.
That may be your problem.
It has a lot of
tuning the
branches.
antenna.
What was that, Brett?
If it has a lot of branches, would it be a multi-band antenna?
Yeah, it could be. It could be, yeah, full spectrum.
It'd be a fan
Yeah.
dipole.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that could also be your
Yeah.
resonance problem. You know, getting that thing tuned. You may
Yeah.
have to trim the trees.
Well, yeah, but that ain't gonna happen. That tree will probably fall. Let me look in the chat room here. Let's see what's going on. You guys, let me hear your comments if you want to talk about it. And I'm gonna read the chat here real quick and see what's in the chat here. Let's see.
Yeah, see, Terry agrees with me.
Well, let's see if I can get on bucket 2. Milk crate. Yep, the milk crate's too low. I almost needed 2 to set on. My knees are bad, guys. When you set that low, you can't work very good, especially at 98 degrees with 75% humidity. You just can't do it. Let's see.
Yeah, fiberglass trees.
Yeah, so
Actually, Brett, I don't think an auto tuner will work. I think you need a tree tuner.
yeah. Well, I see, and the reason, hey, in practicality, an auto tuner work fine out there, but I like to run high power, and an auto tuner, 1.5 kilowatt auto tuner, that's going to cost you $1,000. And
Cost me 400.
yeah, you got one for 400, man. Yeah.
Yeah, if you shop at a ham fest,
Yeah.
you can find good.
Yeah. So anyway, hey guys, that's my plan. I'm still working on the. I'll call it the fan vertical because it's like a fan dipole. It's 1/2, and ours like the DX Commander. The radio system makes a major difference. When I changed the radio systems out at ground level, it made a major difference. At the top end, when it's up in a tree, I only had 3 sets of radios on there, and I had them for the lowest band, 40 meters. So my radios were 33 feet long, 3 33-foot long radios spaced evenly. And, I'm reading, and AI's telling me that, since they're that long, they still should work good for the lower bands, with the exception of you lose efficiency. If you use a 33-foot radio, it's good for 40 and 20, 17. But 15 and 10, it mentioned using a shorter radio, like I think it was 11 feet down there. So, but I couldn't get the top 2 bands resonant. And like I say, the 40 meter, it's just hanging around 6,600 kilohertz. I don't care what I do. I can cut 4 feet of wire off that thing, and it will still read about 6,600 kilohertz. And I have seen that before here too. Anyway, so I'm going to play with that a little bit more. And if that doesn't work, if I can't get it to work, I'm going single wire, non-resonant single wire, 49 feet, with a single wire with individual LC network for each band as shown right here. Right there. That's what I'm going to do. So it should work. It should work, and we hope it works. And anyway, we're having fun. Hey, I'm learning a lot about antennas. I've tried a lot of different things, man. I've tried a lot of different things, and everything kind of works differently. But we're having fun with it if it just wasn't so darn hot out there, man.
Terry's got an interesting viewpoint on that. That's if you run a rope between the trees and suspend it from the rope away from the tree itself, the impedance issue will go away. You have to be as far from any trees or buildings to have a vertical operate with less issues.
Yeah, I understand that.
So that might be something you want to try.
I do understand that, but I'm thinking, and I may be thinking wrong, as long as I have a wideband tuner on that thing, I don't care if it is near a tree, I should be able to tune it. It'll take different tuning, But now, guys, I ran on that exact spot. I had a 3/8 single wire, 3/8 wavelength 40-meter antenna out there in that same spot, and it worked fine. There was an article in, I think, CQ magazine showing how to make the matching device for it using a toroid, and I did it. But my rope broke here this year. It's been up many years, and the rope broke, and I thought, hey, here's my chance to put up something with a lot more bands on it. Again, I've got other antennas, but hey, in the winter when this ice storm comes or a tree limb breaks off and your antenna comes down, it's always nice to have a second antenna or another antenna. And again, my goal here is every single band resonant, low SWR, 1.1, 1.2. And man, with these LC circuits, you can tune a wire down to 1-to-1. I mean, that's how good they are, man. Mm-hmm. Anyway, okay, well that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, guys. Any last comments before we get off this subject here?
Keep experimenting.
No.
Maybe you'll learn something new.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I'm just waiting for it to get cooler so I can hang my end fed. I got everything ready, but I can't stay outside more than 5 or 10 minutes. It was like 97 here the other day.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Brett. I think yesterday, the day before, it actually hit 98, and man, the humidity is so
Wow.
bad, man.
Yes.
And you get out there and try to tune this and try different things, man. You only get like one little shot, 5-minute shot to do something, and you say, man,
Right.
I've got to go in and cool off, man.
And I mean, all I've had time to do outside is mow the lawn, and I do that in early morning and late night sections, and I still, you just can't stay outside.
Yeah.
Way too hot.
All right. Hey, guys, stand by. We'll be right back in just a minute. You're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable. ICOM's IC7760 is the pinnacle of base station excellence for amateur radio enthusiasts. Designed to deliver unmatched performance, the IC7760 features state-of-the-art technology, exceptional RF clarity, and an intuitive interface, all housed in a sleek and durable design. This base station features a separate remote control head and RF deck, providing enhanced flexibility for installation. Place the RF deck closer to the antenna feed point, freeing up space on your desk. You can also connect a control head to the RF deck through your home network, enabling remote operation from anywhere in your home without needing a PC. Pair the IC7760 with a powerful IC PW2 linear amplifier and take your contesting experience to the next level with ICOM's industry-first linear amplifier. Together, they redefine what's possible in amateur radio. For more information about ICOM's amateur radios, please visit icomamerica.com/amateur. All right. Okay, we're back. Well, Glenn, you missed the first part of the show. I mentioned Lord Callum. I think I put it in an email to you. Did you see my email, or did I mention it to you?
I only was able to skim it because I was about to do my presentation for the club.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Well, guys, and we may have some people who came in late here. Hey, you guys may know Callum McCormick, M0MCX. He's the DX Commander guy. He's a guy that needs to tell me how to make this fan vertical work here. But anyway, I've talked to him about coming on the show as a regular co-host, and he thought it'd be exciting. I think he's interested in doing it. He said the only problem he's got is he goes to bed at 2300, and the show don't start till 0100. So we have a time problem here we're going to have to work on. Now, he did come back to last I communicated with him. He did say, let's get back together in September. He says, I'm really busy here in the summer. He said, but check with me. Let's talk about it again in September. So, hey, guys, he may be joining us in September. I don't know.
Well, maybe you could do some pre-recorded segments because I can get in on during the day.
Yeah, well, I thought about that. The pre-recorded, it takes more time. It takes another hour or
Yeah,
two of our time.
but it would let you get him in here.
And then yeah, and then it I think it's better when like the chat room can participate, maybe ask the question. They really couldn't do that.
True.
I had what's her name, Raisha, the
Risa, yeah.
Risa.
Yeah.
She was a regular. She was going to be a regular on here, and I had her on here. And that's about the time Russia attacked the Ukraine, and
Yes.
and we decided at that time that probably it wouldn't be best to continue with that then. But she was on the show here. We've got a number of shows where she was on the show with us, and we did do a recording with her like that and bring her in the show. At night, just because of the time difference. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Let's see. Jim says he used 2 HF antennas, the end-fed for 80 and 40. Mm-hmm. There's a Rich is in there. Greetings, Rich. Toledo, I'll see. Think about it. You're in-fed, half-wave in-fed. I've got a great 49-1 that Ballon Designs built for me, a 3 kilowatt. I mean, he builds the best Ballons. So for 40 meters, a in-fed half wavelength is 66 feet. All right, so and with a 49-1, that makes the impedance of the antenna about, what's that make it, 2,500 ohms, something like that? I don't know. 49-1, 50 into 50 times 50, 2,500 ohms.
2,500.
I guess that's what the impedance basically is of a in-fed half-wave antenna. Now, the in-fed half-wave, a lot of people run it, well, the or whatever down low, maybe 5 feet off the ground, whatever, and they run the antenna at an angle up to a tree, maybe 40 degrees, whatever, I don't know. But if you start thinking about it, when you stand that thing straight up, I'm not so sure it's 2,500 ohm anymore. It may be. I don't know. What do you think?
Put your VNA. I would say put your VNA on it and see what it says.
Well, my VNA, the little VNA I got, that thing is so hard to use. After I bought it, I threw it in the corner over there. I haven't used it.
Well, grab your MFJ 250, 269, whatever.
Yeah. So you think that'll show me the impedance? It should.
Yes.
It should, right?
Good. Yes.
In other words, the SWR show the SWR like 4-1 might be the best I can get, and then that would mean it would be 200 ohms.
Yeah, but it would show you the SWR and the impedance.
Well,
If I'm not mistaken, on that cross needle, it will show the impedance. And the display will also show the impedance.
Yeah.
The question is, does it have that type of range? For that, you need to get Martin on here and ask him.
Yeah, I do need to get Martin on here. Martin is still trying to sell MFJ, so I don't know. And Martin can't stay up very late. He goes to bed early, too. When you get old like us, man, you go to bed early, I may have to start skipping my popcorn here soon and going to bed early. All right. Well, anyway, things change, If it's out at a 45-degree angle, I'm sure the impedance is different than if that thing is standing up like a vertical. I'm sure it changes. Anyway, we're learning. Hey, we're experimenting. Okay. Hey,
that's what it's all about.
So, let's hear from Brett. He had some stuff going on tonight. What do you got going?
Okay, well, I've been experimenting with some antennas too. And here is the one that I was working on this afternoon. I've had some fun with it.
Well,
Um,
I see the problem already. That looks like wood, and wood is not a very good conductor.
Yeah, it's if I were using it as a conductor, it'd be terrible.
Maybe when it's
Yeah,
wet, if it's wet, it might work a little better. I don't know.
but it's the pole that I put on my house to hold up the middle of a delta loop.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah,
Now I live on a small lot in town right now, which is about 60 feet across,
yeah,
and so I figured that the best I could do in terms of making an antenna on top of this roof was to do a 40-meter full wave delta loop because a 40 meters is a little more than 120 feet.
yeah,
And so I went ahead and put this pole in the middle of the roof and strung a wire. It's a little hard to see, but it goes all the way from this corner up to the top
I can
of the
see the
pole,
top wire. I can see it.
comes back down and goes through a corner of the roof,
Yeah,
and then comes on back. And as you can see, it comes to a little box here, and this is where I put my remote antenna tuner.
yep, yeah,
I have a circuit breaker panel box, and
yeah,
inside it I put an SGC 237. And then the feed line goes down here and goes to the shack.
yeah,
So, and a delta loop is nice because it doesn't require radios, it doesn't require a ground. I do ground it just for lightning, so because there'll be less lightning that a big surge will make it into the shack, but you don't have to. And so I don't have to worry about a grounding system.
yeah. Now my Delta loop, I've just got a 4-to-1 balun on it, and I don't have to tune it. It has like a 1.2 SWR on 40 and 20. 15 may be a little higher, but that delta loop will work up to 6 meters without a tuner. But with a tuner, man, you can really fine tune that sucker anywhere you want to go.
Yep, and I've been doing that. The only band that has any trouble tuning is when I go all the way down to 80 meters. And I've looked at putting a loading coil to extend its virtual length so that
Yeah,
so that I can do that. I'm putting a relay on the loading coil so I can switch it in and out since I don't want to lose efficiency when I'm on a band that can tune on it. And so
yeah,
by the way, also on this same pole, you'll see it's kind of a little hard to see here, but there's a hamstick dipole here.
yeah. Okay.
Also, that backup antenna. I have a feed line going into the shack for that as well. Now, the trick with the delta loop was the tensioning system. Originally, I started using bungees, the kind that you use to hold a trash can closed, and they kept on degrading in ultraviolet light and breaking. So I decided to try another system. I decided to make a pulley system with a weight. And so I got a pulley from Amazon, and you can see here's a pulley with a keeper, which is nice because that way the cord can't escape, even
Right, right.
if the weight's blowing around a lot in the wind. And I got a hanger bolt, also called a furniture bolt, so that I could put that through the hole in the pulley after I'd driven the lag screw side of the hanger bolt into the wood. And I just put a nut inside the pulley and screwed it onto the machine screw side of the hanger bolt. And that turned out to work really well. I got the sash weight, and this is a big old sash weight from inside an ancient sash window. Big and heavy, about 30 pounds. And then I got some cord. And as you can see, this is from Masterant. They have a
Yep.
booth every year at Dayton, and they give out samples. So I took some of the sample cord, which has supposedly a 400-pound breaking strength, and cut it. And you always want, and when you use this kind of cord, it's like parachute cord. You always want to steal the ends. So you take a cigarette lighter and you burn the ends until they melt. And then I went ahead and attached it and hung the sash weight here off the side of the house from the pulley. Next, I went ahead and attached the master ant cable. I'll blow this up to the insulators. And I'm going practically out to the edge of the house because the house is built almost to the lot lines. And this is one end with the yellow cord. And this is the other end, which I'll blow up for you. This is the side with the sashoid on it, with the blue and black cord. And when it goes all together, it holds this loop nice and taut.
Yeah.
But there's some give in case of weather. Obviously the sashoid can bob up and down. So if the wind blows really, really hard, I probably won't lose the antenna. I'll probably just have the sashoid swinging a bit and bobbing up and down to compensate for the wind, for the pressure of the wind. And what I find with the antenna is that it tunes up really well. Again, 40 meters, it's perfect. 20 meters, it's perfect. With the tuner, I go all the way up to 6 meters, no problem. 60 meters works very well. And again, 80 meters, it tries. But sometimes the tuner doesn't tune it up adequately. It doesn't find a match.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because the impedance is so high on that band. And so I'm going to throw it off a little bit with the loading coil, and then it should tune up okay.
All right.
And there you have it. Now, a delta loop, even though it looks like it ought to have a pattern that goes out more toward the more towards the along the axis of the antenna than from the sides, in reality, because of the slope, it has almost an omnidirectional antenna. There's more signal going out. There's more signal going out along the wires, but there's also some going across them. And so you get, if you're going to have one antenna on your roof in a situation like I have, the Delta Loop is a good choice, and that's what I've gone with. With 20 watts, I've worked the world.
Yeah.
I've gone to New Zealand and Australia easily.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good antenna. Mine actually is not a delta loop anymore. It's more of a square, or the cross, well, your cross piece is on the bottom. My cross piece was on the top up there. It was like the triangle. It came down, the feed point at the bottom. But I put a rope on my top cross piece, right? I put a rope on the center and went up and pulled it higher. So mine is more of a diamond. It's got like four sides instead of 3. So I guess it's really not a delta loop. It's just a loop.
Yeah. I'd have to model that. Well, I don't know how the pattern would come out, but it'd probably work okay.
Yeah. Well, the loop antenna, you can put it just about any shape you want. You can put it in an octagon, you can put it in a square, you can put it in a triangle. You can put it in just about any shape, and it'll perform well. I was doing little comparisons. This vertical I've got there, I had it pulled up about 60 feet in the air there. Of course, it was off resonance, but still, it's a receiving antenna. And I would compare it with my loop antenna and the loop antenna. Well, the thing is, it's hard to make comparisons because they have different takeoff angles. They have different lobes. It's hard to compare one against the other. So, this one works better than that. Well, hey, the next guy, this one may work better than that one. So you just don't know. If it works, it works. I did notice that there was like maybe a 3S unit difference on some people, and with the loop being the highest with the best. But then again, sometimes it was the same. So there you go.
Yep. Well, you do what you can. Every
Yeah.
antenna is improvised in some way or
Yeah.
another.
And that's the thing about antennas. Hey, you know, I see people, what's the best antenna? They ask the question, what's the best? I don't know if there is a best antenna. I
It's the
mean, there
one
are
that gets you
antennas
on the
that,
air.
what was it?
It's the one that gets you on the air.
Yeah, yeah. They say, well, I put this super duper Model A up. I only paid $129 for it, and I think that's the best antenna. I can tell you what, I can pull some bed springs up 60 feet in the air and take that antenna tuner that Brett's got, and I can make that bed springs work just as good an antenna as anything else. I could pull a hot water heater up there and attach to it, and it would work great. Just get some wire in the air, and it'll work. Work good for you. You'll never know the difference unless you can compare two antennas, with a switch. So anyway, it's fun playing with it, and I can't wait for Glenn to get his up. You got to get it up, Glenn,
Working on it.
because when you
got-
get it
I
up,
tell you what, you turn that thermostat outside down about 20 degrees, and we'll talk about it.
well, that's a nuclear reactor that you're dealing with up there, man, and it's at
Yeah.
a long distance. I don't have any controls.
Yeah, this is what I'm wondering. They're all focused on global warming. Why aren't we dealing with solar warming?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
You know, tune it down a couple notches,
all right. Well, look, hey,
Surely on the
Look.
backside there's a thermostat or something.
yeah, let's get off the ham radio subject for a minute. Let's talk about that. All right, here's my theory. They're saying, okay, the temperature has gone up. It goes up 3 degrees over normal. All right, that sun up there must be burning at about 1,000,000 degrees, man, right? The sun's probably burning 1,000,000 degrees. It's got some kind of regulator on it, I would imagine, to make it run at 1,000,000 degrees. But I bet you that temperature of that sun does change. Maybe
Oh,
4 or 5 degrees this way, or maybe 10 degrees less. It don't stay at
Oh, it's
exactly
more
a
than
million
that.
degrees, And if that
What do you
happens,
think sunspots are?
yeah, if that happens, why wouldn't we feel a difference here?
True.
So maybe we need to be working on, sending Elon or somebody up to the sun to work on the thermostat, whatever you call it there, And,
Well, I think they could do it, but they need to go at night when it's cooler.
yeah, go at night when it's cooler. And speaking of Elon,
Yeah.
stand by.
Hey Tom, I just wanted to let you know that when we get our mission to Mars going, I want to schedule you and your show to be the first to communicate with us in space. By the way, I never miss an episode of Amateur Radio Roundtable on Tuesdays nights on w5kub.com.
Well, I'm going to have to teach him how to say Tuesday night instead of Tuesdays nights. But, I mean,
Yeah. Eh.
I still appreciate it,
But actually, back to your solar temperature thing.
yeah.
If you have to ask, why are sunspots brown? Why are they spots? Those are actually lower temperature places on the sun, because the sun is just a big ball of gas, and you're seeing the sunspots are just storms of lower temperatures moving across the sun.
Now, are you sure
So-
are you sure it's really brown, or is it just because you've been looking at it with your naked eye too long?
It appears brown because it's a cooler
Oh,
color of yellow. So yeah.
yeah.
So it's a slightly cooler nuclear fusion location. But my question is, the sun goes in these 11-year cycles, and to me, if you look at the temperatures, they also appear to go in 11-year cycles. We have these 100 and something degree summers about every 11-year cycle.
Yeah.
And they haven't really, I don't think they've really related the 11-year, call it the sunspot cycle, but it's really a full solar cycle that they should be looking into as to the variations in temperature felt on the Earth.
Mm.
Man,
But I'm
I
not
don't
a
know.
scientist or a nuclear physicist, so, but,
Yeah.
I did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express the other day.
Yeah. I got 2 crowns put on. Well, I got to go tomorrow and get my permanent 2 crowns put on. But I had 2 crowns ground down here a few weeks ago, and I asked my dentist. I said, I hope you stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, and he didn't even know what I was talking about. That must be old time, guys. I mean,
Yeah, it's a baby boomer thing.
yeah, he didn't even know. At Holiday Inn. I said,
Interesting. I was at my dentist today too. So
Oh, really?
today
Yeah.
must have been dentist day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Today must have been send your dentist to Haiti day.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I
hey.
do quite good.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I'll be in a couple weeks. I'll be at the Middle Tennessee Ham Quest over in Lebanon, Tennessee. We'll be doing a forum over there on Pico balloons. We are getting ready to do a Pico balloon launch here. We're going to launch 2 balloons at the same time here. I hope to do that maybe by next weekend or this coming weekend. We're going to get 2 balloons up. They'll be W5 KUB 120 and 121. One of them actually has a little 100 milliwatt amplifier I built and on it. It's a dual band. It uses a in-fed 20 meter antenna for dual band, 20 and what's the other band?
40?
No.
20, 10, 40.
Yeah, I think it's 10. I think it's 2010. I forget. Anyway, and then the other one's just our standard little 10 milliwatt, but we're flying it with a super cap on it. That's I think it's 4 farad. And back when I was growing up, a 4 farad would be about the size of an 18-wheeler. But now they can get it in a little small package where I can fly it on a balloon, So that's all coming up here pretty soon here, man. Let's see, we got just a few minutes here, man.
Well, while you're talking about being at Hamfest, Huntsville's right around the corner.
Yep.
And I will be doing an Arduino forum. They have not told me which day, but I will be doing an all-new Arduino forum there in Huntsville.
Yeah, I saw the schedule, Glenn. They got you down. You're on Monday.
Yeah, Monday. Okay, good.
You're on Monday.
I'm on Monday, yeah.
All right.
But yeah. No, they haven't told me which day yet, but yeah. Usually it's Saturday afternoon is when they usually have me scheduled.
All right. Well, hey, let me just put a plug out there. Hey, everybody out there, I don't know where you are. You may be on X.com, you may be on Facebook groups, you may be on YouTube, you may be listening on one of our podcasts, or you may be listening on shortwave. We're everywhere. You're listening to Amateur Radio Roundtable, a show about ham radio, shortwave, electronics, and sometimes going to the dentist. Stuff like that. We have a lot of fun on here. You can join us on Tuesday nights if you want to join us on video. Just go to w5kub.com. That's a simple place to go. If you're out there listening tonight or watching, hey, send me an email to tom@w5kub.com, tom@w5kub.com. Let me know where you are and do you watch the show, and tell us a little about you, and we'll mention you on the show here maybe next week. Hey, we covered about everything tonight. I got some crazy pictures. Every now and then we find some crazy stuff on the internet, and Glenn is really good about narrating these. So I've got a couple here that I'm going to show you. A couple of pictures here, and let's just look and see what's going on. A couple of these we may have seen before, but there are some new ones in here. So let's look at these. Let's look at these. Look at that. Look at what? Let me stop it. It's got a mind of its own. All right, now Glenn, what do you think, man? They're aimed down. Should they be aimed up? Is that the proper way to put them in?
Only
It's
if
shot in the
actually
dark.
one should be down and one should be up for a symmetrical sine wave pass through.
Well, those look like 22 long rounds. I don't know.
Yeah, they are 22 long rounds.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
they need to be opposite of each other.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because the current goes, let's see, this way and then back that way. Yeah, one needs to be
Right.
opposite. One does need to be
Correct.
opposite. Hey, how would you like to be this guy turning the high voltage on? You gotta,
Um,
you gotta look close, man.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
know.
don't care how long the pole is.
And, hey, you better make sure the pole's dry too. I'm telling you right now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Golly, no.
Well, you know
and
what?
You also see these
I bet-
transformers on the ground.
I bet you he's wearing rubber boots.
Do
Yeah.
you really think that's
I
gonna
think
help
he's
him?
wearing rubber boots. But you know,
No, I will pass.
what do you think? You think that's a high-paying job or the low-paying? Where do you think that guy? You think he's an intern?
They offering several $1 million an hour,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they pay weekly, and he normally
Yeah.
doesn't make it past the first 6 hours,
yeah.
so they never have to
All
pay.
right, now everybody, this is Glenn's cobweb antenna. I've been saving
Yeah.
this for a long time, but that's Glenn's cobweb right there.
Right there, absolutely.
That's right, man. Yeah. You at least could have used a clamp to clamp it on the PVC there instead of tape. You know, that's going to eventually come off.
No.
Yeah.
Tape is insulated. A clamp would be
Yeah.
metal.
That's some awful heavy wire right there. They got a lamp on. I don't know what that is, man. I mean, that's industrial grade, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to say he shouldn't be doing a direct connection. He should be doing an inductive pickup on that.
Yeah, maybe so, man.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
No, having that bare insulation and that wire wrapped around is no. You should just do
Yeah.
an inductive pickup.
Now, there's a slight problem with this. I see a little.
yeah,
It looks
each one
like
of those-
it looks like the wire's corroding for one thing, but I don't think he's got it crimped to the.
Well, he's
each
not.
one of
He's
those
not
will
crimping on the
stick you right through your
conductor.
finger too.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay. They definitely have a problem on one side there. I think.
Yeah.
No, that's by design. That's called a floating ground.
Well, look.
And
In
that
addition,
way the ground will float to where you need it to be.
I mean,
It
I can't
needs that
figure this out. In
flexibility.
addition to the circuit becoming open there, the bolt's missing.
No, that's a floating ground. That's the ground
Is-
lead.
is
If
that
you
what
notice,
that
you got
is?
Black and you got white. Well, you got black and you got white. Therefore, the bare connection has to be the ground. So you got a floating ground.
You might, maybe so. Maybe, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This guy is proud of his work right here.
No, he made one classic mistake,
Yeah. What was
and
that?
that is, it's not a GFI outlet.
Well, it don't have to be the GFI. It can be on a string of GFI. Can be back downstream.
Yeah,
You know.
but no, you'd want the GFI right at the outlet for that one.
Yeah, maybe so.
Well,
Now,
that's a British. That's a British plug.
yeah.
they do it.
True.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see the
Yeah, they
plug
do things
itself.
different over there.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a
Well, that's
shower.
where you can plug-
That's a shower. There's no chance of the water level getting it high, I don't think. But
Well, you don't know. It may have a plug, but that's just so you can plug the toaster in when they raise taxes again.
you know, the nice thing about it, well, I don't know if it's nice or not. You know, the shower head or whatever that thing is. Well, it does have a plastic handle on it. You notice that? It's got the metal ribbed hose there, but it does have a plastic handle.
Yeah.
That may allow you to do something like that. I don't know. It may be code. Now, this is not bad, I don't think.
Well, the
Not-
problem
I mean-
is he's not using Crocs there, so they'll eventually sink.
Yeah. Well, but too, you know, some swimming pools are salt water and some are regular water. Now, I think we don't know which one this is. That could make a fatal difference here. If it's a saltwater pool, for sure.
Yeah.
They don't seem too worried about it.
No.
I've never thought about this. You know what he's doing? You know what he's doing right there? He's charging his batteries.
Yeah. I
Look
never
at that.
thought about doing that.
I haven't either. And they fit and they're fine. And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
He needs to blow the spider webs out, but
Yeah.
that would
He
work.
needs to.
Well, that's why they call them Duracells, I guess.
Yeah. Now, I know we all, I got plugs like this behind my, I got so much stuff plugged in back here, man. I don't think there's anything wrong with this because you figure probably 80% of those things aren't owned, or if they are owned, they're drawing less than an amp apiece. So, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 things. That can't be drawing more than about 7 or 8 amps.
Yeah, but there's one major thing he's doing wrong.
What's that?
There's no wall warts plugged in.
Yeah, you're right. You're
I
right.
have wall
Either
warts
at
if
the
we're going to
other
run
end.
that configuration.
There you go.
See, there's your wall warts.
You ever notice how all these pictures are always like European plugs? They're almost never a U.S. plug.
In the U.S., we have half the voltage and twice the current, so it burned up twice as often.
Yeah. Right there, don't look. It's going to hurt your eyes. That's a good sign right there. Another one I've seen. The other sign I've seen is, don't get electrocuted here because it will hurt you the whole time.
Yeah, and then there is don't look into the laser with your other eye.
Right. Oh, there it is right there. Not only will this kill you, it's going to hurt the whole time. That's true.
Yeah.
Now, that's a good place for the breaker box right there.
Yeah.
You can turn it off when you get a shock.
Well, I'm just thinking, what would be the benefit of that?
Well, you can keep the panel clean. No spider webs.
Yeah.
You can turn on the hot water heater.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that a little more. I'm not sure. There's got to be some advantage to it, but I just don't know. Oh, I like this one. There you go again, a European plug.
Yeah, he's plugging in his ham radio.
I don't think it's going to fit. I just don't
it
think.
He's
will
hogging all the
fit.
power.
There you go.
What was it? What? I didn't hear that.
He's
What a
hogging all the
pig.
power.
Hogging the power. Yeah. That's pretty good. Now this guy here, this must be some heavy duty stuff here, man.
Oh, yeah, that's for his linear.
He's piping that power right in. This
There
is
you
some
go.
this is some heavy stuff right here. I can't even talk about this one.
Yeah.
Now, again, this must be common practice over there.
Well, that's American.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it is. Well,
Well, you know what the big fail is? There's no lever to turn on the shower on the tap there. You know how what you have, that little knob you have to pull up to get the shower to work?
yeah. Well, I hadn't thought about that.
On that faucet.
I hadn't thought about that.
So you can't get a shower. That's where they screwed up. Can't take a shower in that one.
There's got to be some other way to turn a shower on. Don't know, man. Don't know. What do we got there? Oh, that's a 22. That's a long rifle right there. Look at that. Look at that in the bottom. That's a 22 long. Yeah.
Maybe a 22 Magnum. I think it's longer than a long.
It looks pretty long. Man, it popped it, didn't it?
Yeah,
Sure
but you
did.
know, the problem is that one that is blown can be easily be replaced. The one above it is not making any connection at all. That's the bad one.
Yeah. Bill says that's a fuse with an audible indicator.
Yeah. There we are, back to those.
We've been here. Yeah, we've been here.
Yeah,
I
we've
guess
been
tonight, this is my favorite picture of all of them tonight, right here.
You cannot pay me enough to be that man.
Well, but here's the issue. What he's connecting to, the power is off there.
How do you know?
Well, I don't know. I was going to say,
I mean, think
though.
about it. They use those rods to break or make.
Well, that's true. I'm gonna have to look and see if I
on
can see.
either-
I'm gonna have to look and
on
see if
one
the switch
side
is
of this
open up
wire.
here.
At one side, it doesn't matter because if he's closing it, the current's on one side, and if he's opening it, the current's on both sides.
Yeah. Well,
So I mean, that is No.
I think his instructions are: take your handkerchief out, wipe the pole dry before you use it. Plus, the rubber boots help. So I think it's safe.
I think he has to start with the pole being kept in a cool, dry location.
I don't know.
But no, there is, the only good news is when he fries, he's going to boil rather than char.
He might. Yeah. Well, you'd think you'd have somebody down
He'll
there
act
with
like a heat
with
sink.
him. Yeah, you'd think you'd have somebody down there with him. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. Well, guys, hey, thanks everybody. Thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. Hey, Glenn, when you get your antenna up, we're all three gonna get on the air one night, and we're gonna webcast it, and we're gonna try to get people to join us here. Let's see. I've already built up a page here, so they're gonna tune in and watch it, and they're gonna get to see their signal strength, and we'll watch the S meter and all that kind of good stuff. All right. Let's get off here and go get some popcorn. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight to Amateur Radio Roundtable. We will see you next week. Have a nice night, day, weekend, or week, whatever.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.